boop, beep boop, beep boop. A Just the Network production. Beep boop boop. That sounds good. Take it away, me. Hello, Gistners, and welcome to Just the Gist. I'm your host, Rosie Waterland, and in this podcast, I tell entertaining stories about anything and everything, but with just the gist of what you need to know to help you sound impressive at a dinner party. Gisting in every week is the JTG production team and you guys, the Gistners. So, let's get gisting. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
With me today, professionally gisting, James Joseph and Kate Lever. How are we?
We're great.
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, and Pocket, assistant podcast producer, is not in the room now because he fell asleep on the job.
He tired himself out biting my hand.
Yeah, and he's out in his crate. So what a lazy piece of crap. He is getting bigger and less cute now. So less.
Oh, I don't know about less cute.
It's like less easy to put up with how annoying he is. Because when he was so small and cute, it was like, oh, now he's bigger and I'm like, ugh. This is why my plan is working perfectly, because I got a puppy because I'm not having kids. And I was like, you know what? This puppy will be the perfect level of like getting to sort of fulfill any maternal urges I may have, but annoying enough that I'm like, oh, I'm glad I don't have kids.
It's a great reason.
And ever since I've had the puppy, the amount of times I've been like, God, this is annoying. God, I'm glad I don't have kids. Perfect.
It is perfect.
It's the right amount of annoying and maternal you get to be with a dog.
Yeah.
So, genius.
That is genius.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much. All right, anyway, today, I'm so excited about this one. I'm giving you guys just the gist of Elizabeth Holmes.
Elizabeth Holmes.
Elizabeth Holmes. Possibly one of my most favorite Just the Gist episodes ever. It's one of the reasons I started Just the Gist. Like, it was always on my list of a story I wanted to tell, because I love a female scammer, and this was pretty much one of the OG female scammers that we talked about on the show. So I'm very excited to be Rosie's versioning this one, because lots happened since I talked about her last back in 2019. Because it was literally one of the first episodes we ever did.
My God.
Yeah, it was one of the first episodes we ever did.
And do you know what? Because it is blood related,
Yes.
and I have an aversion to blood, I totally avoided this story. So I am coming
Really?
in.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm coming in, as I have done a number of times,
Yeah.
knowing almost nothing.
Well, and there isn't actually a lot of gory blood detail.
Yeah,
because the whole point of it is she was never really actually doing anything. So, yeah. It's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think.
I look forward to hearing all about it.
Okay. Are we ready? Here
We're ready.
we go.
Let's do it.
She founded a company at 19 called Theranos, which was a mixture of the words therapy and diagnosis.
Oh, that's so clever.
I thought you were going to say it was a great god.
No, therapy and diagnosis. She raised billions of dollars from investors. She was called the female Steve Jobs. She was on the cover of Forbes as the world's youngest female self-made billionaire, which later
It
the
became
title
Kylie Jenner.
went to Kylie Jenner, yes. And both ended up not being true. Theranos was a medical company. Elizabeth Holmes said that she had invented a machine that could replace the traditional way we do blood tests. So instead of getting a blood draw with like a syringe that you usually need a few vials filled and then that goes off to a testing facility, she said she had invented technology where you needed one drop, so like a pinprick, kind of like, you know, a diabetic does to test their blood sugar. You just needed one drop, you put it into this machine she like had invented, and you'd get your results pretty much instantly. So, like,
Remarkable,
if
isn't
I
it?
mean,
true-
that would be amazing.
if true, yeah, that would literally be one of the most important medical advances in history. And her plan was for the technology that, like, one day people will be able to just buy these machines and have them in their homes. So you can just test your blood every few weeks. And so you're always keeping track of your health. You'll always know when something's wrong. She gave this TED talk at one point where she told this sad story about, like, her uncle dying of cancer, and by the time he got tested for it, it, like, was a melanoma, but it had spread to his bones and somewhere else and somewhere else. And so she was like, you know, I want to test early. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able, like, if we're on top of our health, and particularly in the US where these kinds of tests are expensive, like in Australia, like blood draws for us are free, like, mostly, unless you're getting some kind of specialist one. You go in, they do it, they send it off, and, like, to us, we don't think about it, but in the US, it's a very expensive
And a huge barrier
enterprise.
to getting diagnosed with
And
anything.
a lot of people avoid it because it costs a lot, and then they don't get tested, and then they don't know they have things. So she had this kind of noble, like, goal for her company, which was, we will find out we are unwell earlier and be able to treat things earlier.
Great idea.
That was an incredible
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and so the company at its peak was valued at $9 billion. She was
Whoa.
personally valued at $5 billion, and this was all before she was 30, which, like, I'm 39, and
How many billions are you valued at, Rose?
Well, if you Google it,
yeah.
it does.
If you Google Rosie Waterland net worth, it says $16 million, which is extremely funny to me. And I do think some relatives have Googled that because, like, when I was talking about maybe one day thinking about possibly buying an apartment, they started sending me all these property listings for, like, $5 million places. And I was like, you guys have looked up Rosie Waterland net worth, haven't you? Because I absolutely cannot afford, like, I live in Sydney, man. Like, come on. So basically, none of it worked.
Shock.
It was all a lie. Elizabeth Holmes had no working machine, and she, I think, editorially, allegedly, was a major league nutter who some people believed had babies as human get-out-of-jail-free cards. So
Ooh.
this is just the gist of Elizabeth Holmes.
Sitting on the property.
Yeah. So she's born in 1984 to pretty wealthy parents. So she's around the same age as us. And from a young age, when asked what she wanted to be when she grew up, she never had a profession. She would always just say a billionaire. So
yeah.
she wanted to be rich. So she goes to Stanford University, which is like an Ivy League fancy university in the US, and it's traditionally where, like, all the tech people go. It's the university that's famous for, you know, like, Steve Jobs dropped out of Stanford and Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of Stanford.
So it's a school to drop out of.
And, like, go to Silicon Valley, and, like, it's where all the Silicon Valley tech
Yeah.
people, they want to go to Stanford. And so she goes there and she takes, like, one chemical engineering class, and she's like, okay, I'm way too smart for this.
Got it.
I get it. I got it. I'm across it. I can just imagine fancy science things in my head and then figure it out later. So she goes to a couple of her lecturers at uni, and she tells them about this idea she has to get rid of traditional syringe blood draws and do it all with a drop of blood. So she's thinking of this at uni, and she has, like, all these drawings and, like, sketches that she's done, which, like, to me, like, I've seen, like, the, like, early sort of prototype sketches, and it's very, like, the wizard from The Wizard of Oz, like, sketching, like, weird do-wang whistle machines. Do you know what I mean?
It looks like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang
Yeah, it
or
does.
Mr. Squiggle's spaceship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It exactly looks like that. So, and, you know, most of her teachers were like, that's really cute, sweet pea, but sorry, no. Like, it is impossible. The reason this hasn't been invented yet is because it's just not possible. You cannot test for that amount of things with a tiny drop of blood. You need a certain amount of blood to do a certain amount of tests, and you can't do it that quickly, and you can't. And she'd be like, "Shut up!
Yeah.
I'm doing it."
But to be fair, everything's impossible until it is possible.
That's kind of what she would say. She'd just be like, they'd be like, "We are chemical engineers telling you this cannot be done," and she'd be like, "I've done one semester." I'm doing it. And so there was one male professor who was really drawn in by her, and this is a pattern that this would go on to be a pattern in her story. She has this way of really enamoring and drawing in older men, not in a sexual way, but kind of in a paternal way. Like she had, she's blonde and she has these big blue eyes. She's got a Disney princess-esque thing going on. And a lot of the people who trust her without demanding evidence or give her lots of money or who get really drawn into like the Elizabeth Holmes business are older men who she just has this charisma and knows how to manipulate. Yeah. So there's this one professor at her uni who's kind of like, no, I love it. You're a genius, like, and you're only 19 and beautiful and so smart. And so he kind of backs her a bit and invests some of his own money, and that gives her the confidence to drop out of Stanford. So she drops out of Stanford and forms the company Theranos, and she's 19. She forms it in partnership with a man called Sunny Balwani, who she had met when she was 18 a year earlier and still in high school. And he was like 40. He was like 20 years older than her. And he was married.
Met her in a romantic capacity?
Yes. So this is the one older man that she does have a romantic connection with. And this is something in the story that she says later is the reason a lot of this happens. But there's doubts as to the truth when it comes to her and Sunny, who's telling the truth. But essentially, he's 20 years older than her. He's married. She meets him when she's on this exchange trip and she's quite lonely because she's a bit of an odd kid. I think she doesn't really get on with people her own age. They start a romantic entanglement, although I hesitate to call anything romantic when someone's 18 and the other person's 40.
Yeah.
But
I did like the use of the word entanglement. I thought that was very well chosen.
And so she tells him about her idea, and he also is like quite a successful businessman. Like he's a millionaire, not a zillionaire, but he's a millionaire. So he,
like you.
Yeah, like
you.
me. Please, I'm not even like a thousandaire.
Google says you are. You are.
I wish.
Google never lies.
Okay, I wish. So they start the company together because he sort of has knowledge in how to run a business and also a bit of a science background. And she writes this plan for her fancy fingerprick one-drop blood technology, and she patents like her initial idea, and she like basically copyrights it. But the point is here, like, even though she's copyrighted an idea and patented this idea, it is still all speculative. Yeah. Like, she's literally just saying, I've imagined this thing in my head can work, and I think I can make it happen. And now I'm just hoping to, like, get people to pay me to spend time trying to make it happen. And this is where the dodginess starts, although, a lot of people hesitate to call it dodginess at this point because this is just Silicon Valley. Like, Silicon Valley is you tell people you have an idea, and in order to have money to make that idea, you get investors. And so you go to investors and you say, here's my idea, will you pay me? And investors pay you, hoping that the idea pays off, and then they get lots of money in return.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think she believes in it at this stage? Like, does she genuinely believe she's come up with this incredible medical game changer?
I think that is a question that people still grapple with. I would say at this point, though, when she very first comes up with the idea and starts the company and starts going to get investors, I think, sure, she believes it. She's 19. She's made some sketches in a book. She's patented an idea. She's got a 40-year-old boyfriend who tells her she can do it. And there's no reason for a 19-year-old to not think, with enough time and money, I'll be able to make this happen.
Exactly right. When you're 19, you do believe you can do anything. You're like, the world is a huge place. I mean, you're so confident. You're like, I'm going to change the effing world.
I mean, when I think about the embarrassing shit I did at drama school that I would never in 1 million years do now because you're 19 and you don't care. Like, we had to spend 1 hour pretending, do that monologue you just did, but do it as a dolphin. Or like, in this class, we're all going to ballroom dance with chairs. And like, but seriously, because it was serious.
Drama.
When I think about doing that shit now, I'm like, how embarrassing. But when you're 19, you just have, I don't know,
course.
an idealism about life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just trying to gauge whether she was like,
Yeah.
woke up one day and decided to scam people, or
I'm glad you asked that early on, because that is the premise and the question that most people go back to. At what point did she realize this is never going to happen, but kept going? Because there is a point.
To be clear, she hasn't done any testing. It's just sketches.
At this point, when she starts, just her idea.
Okay.
And so she goes around Silicon Valley looking for investors, and like, her idea is really good, because at this point, a lot of Silicon Valley is just like, oh, this person is making this app and this person has got this new social media idea. I mean, think of Billy McFarland and the Firefest stuff. Like, this person has a cool idea for a party app or whatever. But this is, first of all, a young woman, which this was peak Girlboss time. So people were really psyched to be in business with young women. And also, her idea is different. It's like a medical revolution. It's going to change the world. It's going to have like, this is like the biggest thing since Jonas Salk invented penicillin, like discovered penicillin. This is huge. So this is like, not only a chance to invest in something that will probably return billions of dollars, but also something important, something historic and noble.
So they can feel good about themselves.
Yes, exactly. So investors like are really desperate to be part of what she's selling, even though at the start she's not really selling anything. Like, and these investors usually would do their due diligence on this stuff. So, you know, if she's saying she has a way to test blood with only a tiny drop, they're like, at the very least, could say, how?
Yeah.
You know, like what? And she says, though, when they do ask her for detail, she says she can't give them the exact detail because it's a trade secret.
Yes.
It's like, you know,
proprietary
Coca-Cola recipe, or like KFC's 11 herbs and spices.
That's exactly what I was
like,
just
she's like, I have this idea, and she shows them all the impressive, and you know, she's is smart, and she's done science, and Sunny Balwani's done science stuff, so they have like, you know, lots of impressive words on pages and sketches, but these are finance guys, tech guys, not medical guys. And so she's like, I can't tell you how it works, but like, I swear it's amazing. Like, I swear. Like, it's kind of like if I went to you guys and said, I have an idea to make a flying car. I figured out how to make cars fly. I figured it out. I just don't have the money to make it happen. So if you give me the money, I promise you in 5 years, I will make flying cars, but you can't ask me any questions about how I'm going to do it because it's a trade secret. But I just promise you I will do it. Just give me the money and it will happen. And so that's kind of how she does it. And I think people are investing for two reasons. I mean, one, what we discussed before, she's charismatic, she's charming, and she's a really good saleswoman, but also like they want to be on board with a woman and they want to be on board with this revolutionary thing. And also I think a lot of them don't really understand the technology if she's telling you it's a thing. And this is like very much the time in Silicon Valley where like, oh, imagine if you had invested in Facebook, you'd be a trillionaire by now. So it's like people are like, these young kids, they know things. We should just give them the money and not ask questions. So another big reason people are investing is FOMO. It's fear of missing out. It's like, she's not going to tell you the details. You have to trust her that it's going to work. And if you don't, then fine, she'll go on to the next person. And, you know, imagine if you gave up on the chance of investing in Facebook or Apple, you'd be pissed. Like, so it's kind of like jump on board or miss out.
Yeah, I'm in my very little understanding of how finance and sort of like venture capital works. It is kind of like very high-end gambling.
It is.
And so there would be a certain thrill for these guys who are like, oh, this is high stakes. It makes me feel good about myself. It's medical. It's game-changing. It's a blonde white woman. We're going to get behind her. And like even the risk of what if she's not telling the truth, that might also be thrilling.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is what people brought up with Anna Delvey, the scammer in New York, who told everyone she was, a billionaire heiress, and she was like hoping to build a private club and was trying to get investors, and she got very close to getting millions of dollars in investments. And she came out later and said, what I'm doing is no different to anybody else starting a company and asking for investments. When you get investors to help you start a company, those investors aren't guaranteed a return. That's why it's a gamble. Yeah. But the difference here is, and this is what people point out with people like Belle Gibson, is her thing isn't just an app, or it isn't just like a new fun idea. Or a flying car. This is people's lives. This is a medical device. And that's where I think it sits differently for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So she starts getting crazy amounts of money pretty early on. Wow. She's young, but she's one of those people who just knows how to work a room with older people. She has the backing of Sunny, which I think helps in terms of having the confidence in talking on the business side of things. Pretty quickly, people like Rupert Murdoch invested $100 million.
Wow.
She gets people like Henry Kissinger comes on the board of directors. She gets really crazy, legit
not very nice
behind her.
Legit
and
people.
it's said later that a lot of these guys were very much proud dads. There was a paternal thing going on that she knew how to manipulate.
And every time one of these dudes invest, that provides just that little bit more legitimacy for her. And that then attracts more of these old guys to come. And then by the time she doesn't need to prove anything.
No.
Because just the investors that she has, the people sitting on the board that she has is all that she needs.
Exactly.
A critical mass of old rich guys.
Yeah, it really was.
It's just infinite old rich guys.
That was basically it.
Wow.
So to make it happen though, she actually has to do something,
follow through.
Right? Yeah, you can't just go around to investor meetings getting money and then going, okay, so what now? So they hire a bunch of engineers and scientists, and she gets them in to start sort of developing the initial prototypes. And a lot of them are very surprised when they get in there that there isn't more of a prototype, because word on the street is this technology exists. She invented it, and they're in research and development stage, but the base of it is more than a sketch on a napkin, right?
So they turn up and she's like, here are my sketches.
Well, kind of. So she kind of says, I have a blueprint. Yes. She has a blueprint, but the blueprint has no detail on how it would work. It's basically me giving you a drawing of a flying car and going, there's my blueprint.
Yeah. It's blood in this way, results out that way.
Yes, that is basically.
And a big question mark in the middle.
I think it looked a lot more impressive, but that is essentially what she had. So she's a very good talker, and she's wrapped in a package that for Silicon Valley at the time was unique and different than usual. She was a woman, and there is that thing in Silicon Valley of faking it until you make it. Everybody does it. And at this point, it's one of those things where people say, if at this point she believed she could make it happen, fine. She was in the early stages. Yeah. She had the idea. She patented it. And now what do? You've got all this money invested. You get scientists in and you say, let's
make it happen.
Let's make it happen. So that is kind of what she starts doing. And, there are a lot of people desperate to get in on the ground floor of what they call unicorn companies that just take off and make gazillions of dollars. So she's kind of taking advantage of that culture, and she has enough money to play around with for a while at this point. And she does that by using those magical words, research and development. So Theranos, people were investing in it for almost 10 years before the whole thing collapses. And for a lot of that time, there was no return really on any of the investments. And anytime investors asked how things were going, it would be we're in research and development stage. We're in R&D. We're still researching. We're still developing. This is medical stuff. You can't rush it. R&D, R&D, R&D. And so now what people want to know is, when thinking about the story, okay, but what was actually happening in the company then?
Yeah.
Like, for all those years, what like, people were giving her money and she said she was researching and developing. What were they researching and developing? Like, if they're not successfully building this fancy new blood machine, what's going on? So it is a lot of smoke and mirrors at the company. Like, this is where I find this story so bizarre that people can, with money and, like, confidence, just fake, and, like, the confidence of a lot of straight white men in power, what they can get away with. So, like, there is a lot of smoke and mirrors, and also a lot of very intentional moves to stop anybody but her and Sunny Balwani from knowing just how far off they were from this thing being a reality. And it's around, this is where the lines are blurred. It's around this time when the company actually starts and research and development starts, and a couple years in, when investors are like, show us the progress you've made. This is when it's hard to deny she
hasn't made
she
any.
At least, and was starting to actively, like, use fraud to cover up what they hadn't done. So, like...
Did the people at the company who worked there as well, because they surely would have known that we don't have anything here.
So this is exactly what I was about to get to next. So she was very clever in keeping it from everyone except her and Sunny. And so they did it this way. They kept everything about the company extremely secret. So it's not a publicly listed company. It's a private company, so they don't have to tell anyone anything they don't want to. Anybody who worked there had to sign, like, crazy nutsburgers confidentiality agreements. Like, you literally sneezed in the wrong way about something to do with Theranos, they'd sue the pants off you. So it was like airtight confidentiality agreements. There was a lot of people leaving, like, in the first few years, because they'd come in and they'd just be like, I don't really, this isn't like the exciting revolutionary thing I thought it was. And they'd go, and they cannot say a thing, because if they're like, I'm outie, this company's up. Airtight
to
confidentiality.
This day, they can't say anything.
Well, I'm not sure. Once everything fell apart, maybe. But it was literally lifelong. You can never speak a word of this once you leave here. Now, the other thing she did that was very, very smart was that she kept everyone at the company, like, separate. So every single department was very separate from every other department, and the confidentiality agreements also pertain to talking to anyone else at the company outside of your department. So, like, you could be in your little department going, well, this one specific part of it that we're working on isn't going well. But, like, I'm sure everybody else is. Like, Henry Kissinger's on our board. Like, you know, Rupert Murdoch gave us $100 million. It's like our project isn't going well, but everyone else must be fine. And no one's allowed to talk to each other. So no one's piecing together, none of this is working. Everyone's just thinking, oh, my little bit isn't working, but I guess I just suck, like, kind of thing. So that was a really smart way of, like, preventing everyone from knowing, oh, actually, this whole thing's a dumpster fire.
But also dumb, because, like, you're not going to achieve your goals if no one in the company is speaking to one another.
But this is where it gets to, like, the question of, at this point, is it more important to them to cover up the fact they're not achieving anything than it is to actually achieve something? Yeah.
And when you're panicking, you're only thinking short term.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, she might not have even been thinking, how do I get to this amazing discovery end game? She's just like, how do I keep covering it?
Yeah.
It was very much like, you know, it's when we did the episode about Firefest, and people in the company said, you know, Billy McFarland, people would go to him and say, what you're asking is impossible. We're not going to get this set up by, you know, 1 p.m. tomorrow. And he'd just be like, we're not a problems company, we're a solutions company. Like, she was very much like that. If anyone came and said, I don't think this can be done, she'd be like, well, maybe you just don't have the attitude needed to work at Theranos.
There's people dying, Kim, okay?
Yeah, there's people dying, Kim. Like, so...
Hold on, what is...
Oh, that's
just cute. He doesn't know.
It's just a little Kardashian reference.
Oh, okay, that's why I went over my
And I was just...
There are people dying, Kim, and I was like, her name's Elizabeth.
There's this episode where they're on holiday and Kim is swimming in the ocean and she loses a diamond earring out of her ear into the ocean, and she's like hysterical, oh my God, it's my earring, blah, blah, blah. And her sister Courtney from like the yacht.
Yeah.
Looks down and she's like rolling her eyes. There are people dying, Kim. And so that's kind of now the thing you say for when like someone's overreacting to something that shouldn't matter kind of thing.
Thank you very much for filling in that pop culture
And in
hole.
this case, I was using it you know, maybe she was like guilting people with the nobility of her cause. Like, your concerns are nothing compared to what we can achieve and the lives we can save.
There are people dying. So good. So a few years in, they have actually developed some kind of machine. It's not like there's nothing. Like there's something. Okay. There's this machine. It's called the Edison, which also is kind of ironic because... Like,
didn't he invent light bulbs?
Well, see, the whole thing with Edison is, I mean, this is just the gist, so I'm not going to go into it, but there is question about Edison and how much he actually invented the things that he said. For example, Nikola Tesla is really the one who invented electricity, but Edison stole it. And she's like, and Edison also was, this is where people are like, she knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Edison was famous for being considered a fraudster by a lot of people because he would do this exact thing. He'd be like, I've thought of this thing called a light bulb, and then like take gazillions of people's money being like, I will invent this. But he had no idea how. He was just like, on faith, I will do it.
She was trying to tell people. She's like, I can't come out and say it. But
I mean,
someone work it out for me.
It was a massive Easter egg that she called it the Edison. So this thing is this machine looks like a printer. It's like very black and very sleek. It's kind of just like a black box. She hired Apple designers to design it because these people always want to be like Apple.
Yep.
And so it was very important to her that everything looked very perfect and marketable. Like there were lots of points where people later said, you know, we were like, Elizabeth, in order for this to actually work, it needs to be this much bigger. It needs to have this awkward thing on the side. And she'd be like, no, sleek black box. Like she was very like, so not only was she like, she wasn't desperate for it just to even work. She was desperate for it to be like a marketable
So
iPad,
these machines
product.
would be sold to people in their homes? Is that
the plan? Like at
the idea?
The early point, they're just trying to invent the machine at all.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the long-term plan is, yes, they will eventually be in hospitals and they will be wherever you would normally get blood tested, it'll be this instead.
Yes.
And then the long-term plan is eventually they will be in every home.
Okay, yes.
But for now, they're like, we just need to make it work.
But maybe she knows it's not going to work and she's like, we need to make it pretty.
Yeah, well, maybe because this thing is a hunk of shit. It looks very pretty.
It comes in pink now.
But it's a hunk of shit. And so investors at this point were coming in wanting to see progress. And employees later said that when investors would come in for like a tour of the, you know, premises and a demonstration of like the machine, they would take a prick of their blood and they'd put it in the little machine and then they'd be like, okay, now come away for lunch or a meeting in this other place. And while they took the investor away, some little scientist would run in and like grab the blood out of the machine and run to a lab and just put it through traditional lab testing and then run back to the machine and put like the test results in the machine so then it could be like,
ta-da!
Ta-da! That's so good.
There's even a story of one version, like the machine had like this computer interface that would sort of like show the results and be like, boop, 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 and then it'd be like, you know, diabetes, no, whatever, no, this, yes. And it wasn't working and they couldn't get it to work and an investor was doing a demonstration. So they literally like video recorded results coming up and then just had a video recording on the screen. Like they were like actively fudging results. And so this is the point where people are like, you know it's not doing as well as you think and you're actively making it look like it's working better than it is. But again, there's this attitude that she had apparently of like, look, there were issues with the prototype. We knew it was working though, but just in order to not worry investors, blah, blah, you know, but she still insists she thought it was going to work. Like this wasn't now. There are some people who think the whole thing was just a fraud to make money. I'm like, I don't think that's what it was. Like, I think at some point it snowballed and maybe it's arrogance. I don't know. But she was refusing to admit defeat.
Would you know what? Sometimes when you don't know enough to know what you don't know. So it's almost like if she didn't have that, because she'd only done 1 unit of chemical engineering at Stanford or whatever, if she didn't have that much scientific knowledge, she actually might not have been able to tell that it wouldn't work. Maybe?
Yeah, I think so. And apparently, like a lot of employees, there was very much a culture at the company of not talking back. Like, we're a solutions company, not a problems company, to the point where if you did speak up and say, this isn't working or that's not possible, people would get fired. People would get in trouble. Apparently, Sunny was like an incredibly abusive, yelly kind of boss. And, you know, if you were in a meeting and you said something to Elizabeth about, like, she'd say she wanted something done and you'd be like, that absolutely goes against the laws of physics and life itself. And apparently she would just go very quiet, not say anything. And 10 minutes later, you'd be called into Sunny's office and get yelled at. So there was it very quickly a culture developed where all the employees were just yes people because you would just get in trouble.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So she acted like so supremely confident about how well they were doing all the time to everyone. What's going on in her head? Who knows? That's why she's so fascinating. Who knows? But if anybody ever came to her with doubts, it really was just maybe you're not meant for Silicon Valley. Like, that's it. That was how they did it. So it goes on like this for a while. They're developing more prototypes. Like, that first one wasn't the only one. They would improve and go back. I mean, if you talk to employees, they were never really improving anything. But, like, according to her and what she was telling investors, getting closer. And after about 10 years, it gets to a point where investors are like, okay, awesome. Like, you're a visionary. You're amazing. We've given you all this money, but we need some results now. Like, it's been ages. Like, what's going on? You can't research and develop forever. Like, where are we at? What's happening? And I think this is a very key moment because this is a moment where she could have kind of said, you know what, honestly, I thought I could do it. We have gotten pretty close. Like, sometimes the tests work, sometimes they don't. I've taken all your resources. These people have worked hard. I've hired smart people, but like, we're just not there yet. We're not there yet. And she could have just said sorry and been like, do you want your money back or do you want to keep your faith in me? This might take another 10 years. I don't know, but...
Does she owe these people this money, though? Isn't it like when you invest, you're just, like, taking that risk in terms of, like...
Yeah, when you invest, you are taking a risk. Yes, it's a gamble, but you're not meant to lose your initial investment. The gamble is whether or not you make a profit. You are meant to at least get your initial investment back in these situations. But at this point, what I consider an important possible turning point, she doesn't just say, I'm sorry, we're not close, but please have faith in me. She doubles down. And when they tell her they need results, she's like, I'll give you results.
You want results?
Elizabeth. And so she goes harder. And like, up until this point, she kept getting money and she kept saying, okay, like, we'll crack it in the next 6 months. And then they wouldn't. And she'd be like, okay, no, well, we'll crack it in the next year. And then they wouldn't. And she'd be like, we'll crack it in the next 6 months. And then she'd get more money. And it was kind of like she was trying to outrun herself and sort of got stuck in it. But I think this is where it turns to like, I think it probably already was a bit of like panicked fraud. I think this is where it turns to active fraud.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, to prove how much faith she has in the Edison, she starts selling it to consumers to use. So up until this point, it has all just been testing and research and development. But now she starts selling it she puts it out to market and there's a big bidding war because it's like, this is going to revolutionize blood testing. You want to be the like chemist or whatever that has this, or the doctor's like franchise that has this. So she signs a $1 billion deal with Walgreens, which is kind of like, you know, America's Priceline, like a franchise of like chemists where you can do blood testing and stuff. And they agreed to put one of the Edison machines in every single one of their stores in the country so people can come in and get their blood tested whenever they want. And like, it costs money. There's like a menu. It's not free like it is here for simple tests like that. It's like, you know, diabetes test, $45, HIV test, $200, thyroid test, $70.
Wow.
Like there's like a menu of things you can go in and get done. And like, but not only is it just for public people to go in and test. Like doctors are referring people to get Theranos testing instead of regular testing.
Oh, no.
So this machine goes out to any doctor that is like linked up with Walgreens to refer people to the chemist or whatever. They now are sending all their patients to get their blood tests on a Theranos machine.
This is the turning point for me. This is
same.
everything up to here. I'm like, this is excusable. Like, did she really do anything that bad? But once she's putting the health of other people at risk,
You're absolutely right. She's a dum-dum because there's a culture of like you fail and you fail and you fail and then you finally succeed.
And then you get there. Valley.
She could
fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She could have done a sweet little narrative about that and gone through. Whereas now, she's getting other people involved, vulnerable people as well, like people who need to get blood tests.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Like,
Elizabeth,
you know,
terrible. Lizzie, come on.
It comes out later that there are a lot of stories from patients, like people who took much longer to get diagnosed with cancer than they should have because the test said they were fine. Like, because not only, like, was it, like, the tests were always incorrect. Like, you know, people who were told they had HIV when they didn't.
No.
One woman who was excited to be pregnant. She'd had a lot of miscarriages and it told her that she was pregnant, but she had in fact miscarried again. There was just a lot of, like, you think, it's just blood tests, but there is so much catastrophic stuff that can happen if you're getting incorrect results from this kind of thing. Like, imagine going to get tested for HIV because you want to start, you've decided to commit to your partner and you're going to start sleeping together and it tells you you're negative and then you start sleeping together. Do you know, like, things like that? Like, you need to know the accurate results of these things. It's just, anyway, so.
Oh my God, that gave me chills. I feel a bit sick, actually.
Yeah. So they start putting them in Walgreens. And also at this time, Elizabeth Holmes is like, if we're going big, we're going big. So they decide, they've been a private company for so long, they decide we're going to go public, not in the sense of going on the stock market, but as in put themselves out to the world, marketing and publicity wise. Like, they want everyone to know, like, she's essentially saying, we've done it.
Oh my God.
We've done it. We're in Walgreens. We've done it. Mission accomplished. And so they hire the advertising firm that does all of Apple's advertising and does all of their, like, very famous ads. And Elizabeth, who's like, about 30 by this time, she kind of wants to be the Steve Jobs of the medical world. So those publicity people just get her on this amazing campaign. Like, that's when she does her TED Talk, and that's when everyone hears that voice for the first time. And, like, people start flipping out over her because she wears this black turtleneck every day. She does this very famous, I think is it Forbes magazine cover where it's like a close-up of her face and she's holding this tiny little, like,
vial.
Yeah, like the vial is the size of a grain of rice and it's like one drop of blood and this woman's revolutionized the world or whatever. And she's invited to the White House. Like, she's on committees with Mark Zuckerberg. Like, this publicity firm puts her out there as, like, finally the female version of these tech millionaires, except her company is one that, like, matters, you know? So,
oh no.
The investors are demanding results and she's like, well, Walgreens is the result. This is a bazillion-dollar deal and this is what we wanted. She knows it doesn't work. She knows all the way back to when her uni professors told her it couldn't work, that it probably wouldn't work, but here we go. The Walgreens tests are pretty dodgy immediately. Like, they failed, obviously, in all the ways I just described, but it was so bad that it was at the point where employees later said, like, so people would get their blood pricked, it wouldn't work. Get their blood pricked, it wouldn't work. Get their blood pricked, it wouldn't work. And then the technician would be like, sorry, I have to just do a traditional blood draw. So then eventually most people were just getting a traditional blood draw anyway because it wasn't working. Then the machine didn't work at all anyway before they even sent them to Walgreens. Oh my God. So they knew they had to have a system. Like, we can't just put the blood into the machine and it spits out results. But they wanted to sell the machines to Walgreens. So they had a system where every day a Theranos courier would come to Walgreens, pick up all the blood, take it to other like traditional blood testing labs, like literally their competitors, like, you know, Lavity or whatever, get all the blood tested there, get the results, and then courier the results back to the Walgreens. So this is like such an ad hoc way of like, promise the machine works. What are you doing with that blood? Oh, just taking it over here for a sec. Like, it was literally that ramshackle. Like, They were not ready to be in Walgreens, but I think it was like, well, it's do or die now. Like, it's the investors are like, crap will get off the pot. It either works or it doesn't. She's like, fine, it works.
It works really well.
Yeah, and so you know, doctors are very quickly finding that results are incorrect or weird, like not making sense. You know, like 6-year-olds are getting blood tests that saying they're in menopause and all just crazy shit. And so, like, doctors very quickly are speaking up. Patients are speaking up. Patients are annoyed that they go in to get the drop and it ends up being a whole blood draw. And then also employees later, you know, blow the whistle on it wasn't even working, the machine, the blood was getting ferried out to other places. So it's like, it's a total cluster F, which they knew it would be.
Can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
Isn't there kind of some like American medical association that like tests the machines and it gives it a stamp of approval before it can start being used by...
The FDA or something.
Yeah, the public, like, yeah.
Elizabeth Holmes, this is another active piece of fraud, did say that the machines were FDA approved.
Okay.
They were not. But Walgreens also never... checked.
Okay, yeah.
They never demanded evidence that it worked. When asked for details about how it worked, they were told what they told everyone. It's proprietary knowledge. Like, just trust us that it works.
And she has that board of all rich guys and investors that give her,
like Kissinger, Murdoch, all these guys. And she also, told them it was FDA approved, but also the thing was there was a bidding war between several pharmacy and medical chains to get the exclusive rights to the Edison, and they kind of played this thing of, look, if you're going to hassle us for too many details, we'll just go to the other guys. So it was this FOMO thing of like, if we don't sign it, someone else will, and this is going to be the thing that everyone wants, so we better sign it. So Walgreens just didn't really ask for any detail. They were just like, put him in there, let's go.
Wow.
So the lies,
horrifying.
You know, they start to unravel because it was easy to keep it a secret when it was like just all in research and development in this essentially small company in Silicon Valley. But like once she insists on putting the machines in Walgreens stores, it doesn't take long for people to start being like, this isn't anything. There's a lot of complaints and then the complaints like reach enough of a critical mass that like journalists start to hear about it. So then there's rumblings from journalists who start looking into like what's going on with these machines, why aren't they working? And then there's this guy called John Carreyrou, and he works for the Wall Street Journal, and he hears about it all, and he starts looking into Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes. And it's when he's investigating, he can't get anyone to talk to him because they're all petrified. There was one man at the company who was like an older scientist and was at a high level, and he did speak up about how things weren't working. But he was always confused about why he would get pushback because he was like, but it's science, you know, we'll just keep testing and
I mean, failure
what's the
is
rush?
built
What's
into
the
science.
what's the rush? But he didn't. So he eventually got like fired and basically threatened with like legal action because of NDAs and everything. And he took his own life.
No.
This man. Yeah.
Oh, Rosie.
And so like that sort of became a little bit of a story, and that was to people in the company, they were just, everyone was like, don't say anything, it's not worth it. But one lab technician does go to John Carreyrou and he does talk to him. And the only reason, and this kid, I think he's like 22 or something, and the reason he goes is because he's a privileged kid. He's basically a Nepo baby. His grandfather is on the board of Theranos. So he's like met Elizabeth a few times through his grandpa. The reason he got this sort of like low-level internship job is because of his grandpa. And he kind of knows, he seems like a really good guy. I'm the only employee who has any kind of safety net or power here that can talk because of my family and because of my grandfather on the board. And so he secretly talks to John Carreyrou and agrees to be like his source and tells him everything he knows. That enables John Carreyrou to write a story about it. And when people see that someone's talked, then other people talk, then other people talk. But he was the one who kicked it off. And it caused a massive rift in his family because his grandpa chose Elizabeth over him. For quite a while. His grandpa was literally saying to him, you don't understand, like, you're not at the scientific intelligence level that she is. You were just doing tests that you have no idea about. Like, you don't know the high level part of this. His parents were supporting him. His parents, like, got to a point where they were thinking, like, about having to mortgage their home in order to, like, cover his legal fees because the company was coming after him for speaking. Wow. And it got, like, it was a lot of messiness with his grandfather because Elizabeth was, like...
This is some Succession level.
Yeah, it is Succession level stuff. So John Carreyrou ends up talking to all these staffers and finally people start talking and breaking their confidentiality agreements, and that's when he finds out a lot about just all this fake stuff that Elizabeth had been doing over the years, like, you know, faking the results, running out of the room to bring stuff back, putting records of computer like images on the machines to make you look like it's working. He also finds out at this point that Elizabeth had, like, anything that she would tell the board of directors, they just took at face value. So that kid's grandfather on the board said to him, if these machines don't work, then why are they being used on the front lines by medical soldiers in the army? And this kid was like, what? Grandpa, they're not. Like, he was like, I highly doubt that they are. Like, and he's like, of course it's true. How could it not be true? And the kid tells John Carreyrou, the reporter, this, and John Carreyrou looks into it, and the army's like, no. Oh. Like, she just makes shit up.
Wow.
And the board believes it. The board also all believed that the machines were FDA approved. Like, she just makes shit up. And so when this is, like, all discovered, and this is also around the time John Carreyrou is the one who figures out that her voice isn't actually like that. She puts that voice on because there's footage of her later, like, that comes out when she's younger, and she just talks like a normal person. She talks like this.
Yeah. Was she trying to be made, like, taken more seriously?
No one knows, I guess. Like, and a lot of employees who eventually talked said later, like, if it was late at night in the office and she thought she was by herself, or if she was really tired, she would slip out of it and you would hear her just talk normally. But, like, it's hard to say. It's been speculated that she just had this thing where she understood what was marketable. Yeah. And so she wore the black turtlenecks and the black blazer, and she put on this voice and always wore her hair in the same bun. And it was like her shtick.
Wow.
It was like a mark, like...
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I get that.
She's not wrong, though. Like, it worked.
It worked.
For a long time.
It worked. So at this point, you know, there's hundreds of billions of dollars has been poured into this, and she's been at the helm of this company since she was 19, and they're now testing machines with the public that she knows doesn't work. Complaints are coming in faster than they can deal with them. Walgreens is like, what the F? John Carreyrou starts doing all this research, and in 2015, he starts publishing a series of articles that, like, basically say, stop calling her a revolutionary genius. And I did, like, the tiniest amount of research, and it was not hard to figure out that, like,
she's full of
none
shit.
of this works. Yeah, like, none of this works. And at first, Elizabeth comes out swinging, like, doubles down.
Course.
She's like, no, my machine does work. People are just, she goes on TV and does the quote, like, when you try to do something different, at first they say you're crazy, then they say it'll never work, and then you change the world. So she's kind of like saying, I'm just innovative, and I think in a revolutionary way, and they're just too small-minded. Like, anybody who's saying that is too small-minded.
The audacity is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and so then the FDA comes out and is like, hold on a second, like, we want to look into this. And so they start looking into it, and they're like, we never approved this, and also we wouldn't. Because what? And so that's when everything just snowballs
yeah.
very, 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 very quickly. And so pretty much a year after the Forbes cover was published in which she's holding the thing and she's the youngest self-made female billionaire, it's a year later that Forbes publishes a huge story valuing her and her company at $0.
Wow.
So finally things start turning around. The kid who blew the whistle said his grandpa sort of finally, not long before he died actually, says to him like, I'm sorry, like you had integrity and I should have believed you. Elizabeth Holmes is sued by the board of her company and by a lot of investors. Walgreens are like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
They paid a lot of money for it, but they basically had to stop using the machines and they don't get any money back because it was kind of like...
Well, it was sort of their fault.
Yeah, do your due diligence, guys. So they just kind of lose a lot of money. And then like... Nobody who invested any money gets anything back because there is no money left. Yeah. Like the money was all just getting spent as quickly as it was coming in. And Elizabeth says then and says now, like she's still saying then, even as like the company publicly was disgraced. Like this is when I was interested in the story, like I think I read the book, like the documentary hadn't come out yet. She hadn't been like arrested or anything yet. So she was still really doing media and interviews thinking she could
turn it around.
Yeah. Like they always do. They always think
because
they can turn it around.
So long as well.
They can convince you. So she's still doing interviews saying like this stuff takes longer than you think. Like this wasn't a fraud. Like I had this idea, it's going to work. It's just that this is science, this is medicine, blah, blah, blah. Like, essentially saying it's not a fraud.
Yeah.
My intentions have always been good and they will be good. It will work. Just give me a bit more time. It will work. She is initially fined $500,000 and banned from running a company for 10 years, which made a lot of people furious because they were like, that's not...
Should be forever.
That's not enough punishment. Like, because it's not... This shouldn't just be punished as a fraud crime, like financial crime. This should be punished as a crime that, like, put people's lives in danger. So she disappears from the public eye for a while and she pops up in social media posts all of a sudden looking... her age, which is weird. She's like wearing this fun costume with like big butterfly wings and she's at Burning Man and she has a boyfriend that looks her age and they kind of just talk about like the status says something about like being in love or whatever. And so it turns out that like she and Sunny have split and it looks like in sort of the couple of years that she went to ground after all this blew up, she meets this billionaire, this kid who comes from a billionaire family. They fall in love. His name is Billy Evans, I think. They fall in love and she kind of, it looks to me, starts getting to act her age for the first time in her life. Like because since she was 19, she's been with a 40-year-old, been the head of a company,
changing
her peers have been Rupert Murdoch and Henry Kissinger and all these old dudes and now she's just like running around at a music festival with a boyfriend. And he proposes, she accepts, but there is still like a trial looming in the distance because,
consequences.
Yes,
remember
exactly.
the time that we defrauded everyone.
So because she gets engaged to this billionaire, his family is billionaires, they start providing the financial resources to back her like legal defense. And so there is just like, postponement after postponement after postponement, like lodging this appeal to this and this to that and this. It takes ages to even get her anywhere near a courtroom. Eventually, she does some depositions, like where you sit down and get questioned before going to trial. And so it's the video of those depositions that like really blow the story open again because she is still putting on the voice. It's odd. And she's answering questions in a way that like, she won't admit to any wrongdoing, but she has no way of answering just straight up questions like, how did you do that when that machine didn't work? Or why did you say that they were, being used by the army on the front lines in Afghanistan? Or and she'd be like, I don't recall, I don't have exact detail of that conversation. It was a disaster, this deposition. So it eventually finally goes to trial. She has like the best legal team money can buy. She gets pregnant. A lot of people think in an attempt to like stay out of prison.
I mean, there are worse reasons to have kids.
Also at the also at the trial is when, and in the deposition, but a lot at the trial too, is when the legal team and she really start pushing forward the narrative that she was essentially in an abusive relationship from the time she got with Sunny.
Wow. Okay.
So it was essentially like, I was 19. He took advantage of me, which, yes, I think that anybody who, well, she was 18 and in high school, actually. So, you know, when they got together. So, yes, I don't dispute that was him taking advantage of her. And there was certainly a power imbalance then. But then she says that over the course of the 10 years they were running Theranos together, he was abusive the entire time. He was basically in control. He was the one pushing everything, making her do it all. But then they went through a lot of evidence that showed there was most decision-making was happening without, like, she had the final say on things. Yeah. And there were a lot, like, there was a lot of evidence that sort of went against that narrative. Like, it looked like she had a lot more control than she was trying to allege. So it's very hard to say. Like, he denies all of that, of course, and he kind of says, like, no, she was the one. I don't have a science background. She does. Like, I just thought she told me it was working, and I was like, okay. So they both kind of deny it. But she does get found guilty. And while she's awaiting sentencing...
Guilty of fraud?
Fraud.
Yeah.
So she gets found guilty of fraud against the investors, but she's acquitted of fraud against patients.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, there just wasn't beyond reasonable doubt. It's like a whole lot of legal. This is just the gist, but it was the investment fraud that she gets charged on. Okay. And while she's waiting to be sentenced, she gets pregnant again. Mm-hmm. Again, if you know, because she knows, she's been told the likely most minimum you will get here is like 5 years in prison or something, and she still has another baby. I think that's quite selfish.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think, so there's two schools of thought. A lot of people say, like, well, she was clearly doing it to curry like sympathy. And she had the first one during the trial, hoping she'd get found not guilty. She didn't. So then she had the second one while awaiting sentencing, because she was hoping at sentencing it would be like, she has 2 small children. Like, she's a young mother with 2 small children, which her lawyers did try. But they're like, soz no, she gets 11 and a half years in prison.
Ooh.
11 and a half?
Yeah. And that is in...
How did they land on a half?
So
11 and a half.
I think they added up in weird ways. Yeah. So she's found guilty in 2022, and in 2023 she's sentenced to 11 and a half years in prison. Her lawyers try and put it off. It's a while before she goes to prison, because it's when you have lawyers and you have that much money, like they tried everything, including like her having 2 babies. But she does in May 30th, my birthday, 2023, she surrenders to Camp Bryan, which is a minimum security prison that a lot of people say is like the cushy sort of prison that
sounds fun.
Rich,
Camp Bryan.
like white collar criminals go to.
Yeah.
It is also the one that Jen Shah from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City ends up going to. And there have been paparazzi photos of Elizabeth and Jen Shah going on walks together in the prison. We're going to do a JTG mini on Jen Shah's story.
I want a buddy comedy with those two.
Yeah. So don't worry, that's coming. She did a People interview actually earlier this year from prison. And at the time, I remember saying to James, this interview sounds like it's the start of a PR campaign. Like, it was the relaunch of her thing, because she was on the cover of People, and she did this interview talking about answering all the questions that people want to know. The first one was the babies, and she said, I'm not a monster. I wouldn't have babies to stay out of prison. I did it because if I was going to prison, I wasn't going to get out till my mid-40s. Yeah. And so this was biologically my only chance to have children. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
I get that. It ties you to the billionaire family a lot stronger if they've got kids with them as well.
Smart. She also continues to maintain in this interview that she had this idea, truly thought it would work, but got caught up with an awful abusive man, and it all got out of anything bad that happened was him. He, by the way, also got found guilty and got sentenced to 12 years in prison, so he's currently serving that as well. And they both have been ordered to both pay back $452 million in restitution, but, like, that'll never happen. And she also says in the People interview that, like, she still believes in revolutionizing the medical industry. It's her one true passion, and she's been coming up with lots of ideas, and, like, she's essentially got stuff that she's going to launch as soon as she's free. And I remember thinking, like, this is
the beginning
of a PR campaign. Why is she doing this now if she still has, 9 more years to go or whatever? And then the news came out like a month later that she was up for this big appeal, that if she got it, she'd get out. And I was like, that's why, because they started the PR campaign just
on the hope that she
would get out. That appeal got denied. So I'd say the PR campaign's still happening. It's still going to be on the back burner.
She's got a sketchbook in there. She's making some new ideas.
Doing her new little fizzy wop do bop chitty chitty bang bang Wizard of Oz do wackies. Her husband and her husband's family are, like, supporting her 100%. Wow. There's paparazzi photos of him visiting her, of her children coming to visit her once a week. But as it stands now, her last appeal was denied earlier this year. But when you're a billionaire and you have the smartest lawyers, there's no way she's serving the full 11 and a half years. There's just no way.
No way.
So, her story became quite huge when John Carreyrou's reporting got turned into a book called Bad Blood, Secrets and Lies in a Silicon Valley Startup. It's
a perfect title.
So great.
And I listened to it as an audiobook. It's what a lot of the research for this came from. It's like a long podcast. It's so good. Then in 2019, there was the amazing documentary called The Inventor, Out for Blood in Silicon Valley. That's incredible as well. Everyone should watch that. And then in 2022, Hulu released The Dropout, which was the dramatic miniseries starring Amanda Seyfried, and she is so good in it.
She's so great in that. Yeah.
Like, she won the Emmy and the Golden Globe.
I haven't seen it, but I bet she doesn't sing in it, which is a real letdown.
No, but she does the voice, and it's so good.
I want a musical version of the story.
Yeah. Give me your blood. I don't know.
Perfect.
Just a drop. So yeah, the Amanda Seyfried's amazing in that, and I think it does a pretty good job of. It shows Balwani being, I wouldn't say like outright abusive, but it certainly shows that there's in their personal romantic life a power dynamic that's very complicated, but it also shows that she has a lot more agency in the business and in all of it than what she would like people to believe. Like, that's how they sort of, I think they reach a really good nuance in the dramatic series about it. And so from now we just wait and see
what her next
when she
idea
gets out, what her next idea is. But like I said, there's no way she's serving 11 and a half years. She's going to get out earlier than that. And judging by the People interview she did earlier this year with a very rich family behind her who can afford lawyers and PR people, when she does get out, she's not looking to live a quiet life. She's looking to make a comeback.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Like, if you failed on this level, surely go quiet, go anonymous, dye your hair, throw out all the turtlenecks.
It is called the biggest startup failure in history. Yeah.
But if she's got that much money behind her, like unlimited time and unlimited resources, all she needs to do is make one big achievement, and her indiscretions then kind of wiped away.
She strikes me as someone who, when like pathological liars or just weird people like this get to that point where they even believe it themselves. Yeah. Like, I think she's at a point where she's... and when you're in prison just by yourself, you're a lot of times sitting around, she would just be thinking herself in circles, believing her own version. And also, like, the ego she would have... And now this family behind her who, like, his whole family believe her.
Yeah.
And so, like, to be like, well, actually, the biggest tragedy in all of this is that she was a brilliant scientific mind. And so what we need to do now is just support her while she's going through this horrific trauma of being imprisoned. and then when she's out, allow her brilliant scientific mind to flourish. Like that's kind of... Yeah. I mean, if only we could all land a billionaire BF.
Well, for that...
Sorry.
Yeah,
that's very pointed. I mean, for that family, it's so much easier to believe that narrative. It's so much nicer for them than to have to confront the hard reality, which is that their, daughter-in-law and wife and mother and whatever else is, one of the great scammers of our time.
Big psycho.
Do you know who I feel like fictionally would be her lawyers is Danny Crane and Alan Shaw from Boston Legal.
Totally.
This feels like a complicated, unethical,
they'd love it.
They'd love it. They'd be all across it.
I've been binging that show recently. It's the best.
It's the best.
Although one of the uncomfortable things is the sexual harassment side of it all. I know.
You sort of have to put it aside. It's so annoying.
It was a different time.
I know, but the point is it kind of wasn't okay at the time either.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
But yeah, that was just
Wonderful.
I loved it, Rose. Thank you. Thank you so much.
When we're so desperate for girl boss culture, that's what
we'll believe.
We'll believe anything.
Yeah. You can fake it until you make it to a fault.
And never make it. And never make it. Just keep faking it.
Just keep faking it.
But I mean, to be honest, Elon Musk has done the flying car thing. Yeah. It has been well documented that he got so much investment for SpaceX and for Tesla. He promised that there'd be no people-driven cars on the road by 2020. He's made all kinds of crazy promises. He promised that we'd be living on Mars by 2025, and people have given him money and given him money and given him money. But the difference is his promises, I was going to say haven't put anyone at risk, but Teslas blow up and crash and stuff.
And run people over.
I mean, there's something different about we'll live on Mars than medical testing on people's blood.
Yeah.
But that everyone in Silicon Valley does this. She just picked the wrong thing, idiot.
Yeah, pick something lower stakes. It is not a life and death situation.
Yeah, that's what Anna Delvey did. Anna Delvey was I'll just scam rich people to make my own nightclub. And then when she got caught, now everyone finds her funny and charming, and there's Vogue photo shoots in her apartment.
And she's on Dancing with the Stars with a little prison anklet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's it, guys. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lieber and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1, $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast, and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.